So hello, this is Notary Life with Kimmy. Well, hey guys, today we are talking about how to charge for apostilles. So this is my fourth video on apostilles. If you have not checked out the other three that will give you training on apostilles and show you what a day in the life of an apostille agent looks like, I highly recommend you check them out. How do we make all this money as an apostille agent? When you tell somebody their total bill is $185, $300 or $500, that sounds like a lot, right? Well, today I'm going to tell you how we come up with those prices. And again, this is just an estimate. Those dollar amounts that I tell you about, making anywhere from $175 and up, is an estimate because that's going to be determined on how many documents, etc., etc. So by the time I finish going over this list with you, it will make sense to you why it costs so much. So let's get started. The first one is, and this is not in any particular order, but these are things I want you to think about and how to price your apostille job. And then now after we go over this again, it'll make sense to you why the cost is so high. So number one, does the document need to be notarized by you, the notary, or do you have to hire a notary to notarize it? Because if you're not a notary and you're doing apostille work, someone has to notarize the document sometimes. And if you're not, that means you have to hire someone. So that's a fee, right? Somebody has to be paid. Even if it's you as the notary, you want to be compensated for stamping that document, and that is part of your service. You are providing the notary service on that document. So that's one. Number two, you have to charge a fee for picking up the document perhaps. You've traveled to their home. Now you have to charge them because you had to go pick up the document, right? So that's another fee. So you see how it's adding up? So now I've stamped the document as a notary. I had to travel to them. So now that's a fee. Do I have to print their documents? Some people will ask you, hey, can you print these documents and apostille them for me? So now I can add a print fee. So that's an additional fee. Let's keep going because there are many fees here. And you're going to say, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So let's go to the next one. Do I have to use FedEx or UPS? If so, how many times do I have to use them? Is the document going from Georgia to California and then from California back to Georgia? I have to have a FedEx envelope every time that package moves, right? Is the package going from here to Florida? Even if it's locally in Georgia, I have to have a FedEx envelope when I drop it off at the location for them to mail it back to me. So do I need 1, 2, 3, or even 4 FedEx envelopes? Someone has to pay for that. It's not me. That's going to the client, right? Then you have to think about what happens when the documents are completed. Do they come back to me? Do I have to ship them back to the other client? That's another fee. Or once they come to me and I'm delivering them to the client locally, I have to get back in my car and drive them the document. That's a fee. So you see how this can add up? Do they need a rush job? Is it possible for me to ask someone, another notary that lives closer to the Secretary of State or whoever does your apostille? Do I have to call them and say, hey, Jane, I have a rush job. I'm going to pay you to physically take it to the location for me. Now they're asking for a rush job. That's more money. So you see how we keep adding on? Keep adding on. How far is the Secretary of State from your home? Do I have to drive an hour each way, 2 hours each way, 3 hours each way? I've heard of people driving even 4 hours each way because that person needs that document done that day. So by any means necessary, it needs to get done by the notary. And the client does not mind paying whatever they need. Maybe they waited to the last minute and that document needs to be over in Mexico tomorrow. They don't have 7 days to wait. They don't have 2 weeks to wait. So they will pay you for expedited or rush service, okay? Then you got to think about just your time, energy, gas, electricity, using your computer, your internet. All of that goes into fees. Is your electricity free where you live at? Not in the state of Georgia. Georgia Power wants their money. The gas bill, Gas South wants their money. So all of those things, as I'm sitting in my home office preparing that document, that fee needs to go to someone somewhere, right? Also, there is a per document fee. Every time you send it to any Secretary of State, they have a fee. So is it $10? Is it $15? Is it $20? You need to research your state and find out what the fee is per document. So you don't want to eat that cost. So again, that's something you pass on to the client, right? Then also you have the money order, or however the processing of the payment for the Secretary of State. Some will only take a money order. Some will only take it electronic. If they take it electronic and you have to use your credit card, now you have a processing fee. Who pays that? You or the client. So that goes to the client also. So apostilles are not cheap to process. They are not cheap for the client, and they are not cheap for you as a notary to handle it. Okay? Let's keep going. I'm not even done yet. Do you need somebody to translate the document? A lot of times when you're dealing with apostille work, the document is leaving the country, coming in the country. It could be any number of things, right? Does the document have to be translated? Well, unless you speak that language, that means you have to hire someone. So that means more money, more money, more money. So apostilles are very expensive, as I just stated the process. So again, we're talking anywhere from $150 to $1,000 or even more. There are so many variables when you're dealing with apostilles. As I've stated and listed here, about 13 or 14 different fees that can make up the apostille price. So when we tell a client, we can speak with confidence that yes, it's going to cost ABC to process your apostille document for you. And it would be my pleasure to do so. If you have not added apostille to your notary business, I highly recommend that you do. It will require a little bit additional training. There are several levels to the apostille industry. I am here again referring to a basic level, and you see it's 14 different fees associated with that one. So imagine the federal level, how much more you can charge. But again, apostille is something that I highly recommend you add to your business. And if you become a master at it, it's really worth it. I just wanted to bring you a reality of why it costs so much, because I know a lot of times we throw those numbers around, 150, 180, 200, 3,000. Yeah, apostilles can cost a lot of money, but guess what? It's worth it to the person that is getting this accomplished. Why? Some of the reasons why a person may need an apostille and they need it immediately, they need a rush order and they're willing to pay all this money. They're trying to get married in another country. They may have a property in another country. They're trying to attend school in another country. It's something going on in this other country that is so important that they need it ASAP. And a lot of times if people are like me or like you, sometimes we wait to the last minute, right? Well, you know, anytime you wait to the last minute, it's going to cost more. So something that probably could have been done by themselves, they could have handled it and took the time to go down to Secretary of State, print the documents, get the FedEx, and do all the stuff that we talked about. Now it's a rush job and they're tired, they're irritated, they don't feel like being bothered with it, and they're willing to pay you whatever. So become skilled at doing apostilles and add it to your notary business. Another couple of fees when you are an apostille agent that you have to think about, the reason why that bill is so high. Even your own processing of the payment. How are they going to pay you as the notary? Is it by credit card? When you start talking about $200 job or $300 job, your processing fee goes up. I do not ask the client to pay my credit card processing fee. I already have that included in my price. Or if they even cash app you, that could be $5. You know, that's a lot if you're doing it all day long. So you want to make sure that's already included in your price too, your fee for processing their payment as the notary. And then another thing to think about is, what if you have to hire a courier to have someone on call to run back and forth to the Secretary of State for you? Because if you're doing apostilles all day long, you don't have time to physically get in your car and drive each one there. So you might have to hire a courier service that will take your apostilles for you to the Secretary of State. Even if, I wouldn't hire an Uber driver unless you know them, but you want to hire a professional courier service, and that's not going to be cheap. So who's going to eat that fee? You as the notary? No, all these fees go back to the client. This is Notary Life with Kimmy. I hope you learned something today.